Be ready. 5 seconds. Start. I am afraid that if we adopted that attitude, then there would hardly be any association for us with any country because we have disapproved of something or other that country does. Sometimes it so happens that the difference is so great that either you cut off relations with that country or there is a conflict. Some years ago, the United Nations General Assembly decided to recommend to its member states to withdraw diplomatic representatives from Spain because Spain was supposed to be a fascist country. I am not going into the merits of the question. Some think that question comes up in that way. The question has come up again and they have reversed that decision and left it to each member states to do as it likes. Take any great country or a small country and see what this means. You do not agree with everything that the Soviet Union does. Therefore, why should you have representation there, or why should you have a treaty of alliance in regard to commercial or trade matters with it? You may not agree with some policies of the United States of America, therefore, you cannot have a treaty with them. That is not the way nations carry on their foreign policy or any policy. The first thing to realize, I think, is that there are different ways of thinking, different ways of living, and different approaches of life in different parts of the world. Most of our troubles arise from one country imposing its will and its way of living on other countries. It is true that no country can live in isolation because the world as constituted today is progressively becoming an organic whole. If one country living in isolation does something which is dangerous to the other countries have to intervene. To give a rather obvious example, if one country allowed itself to become the breeding ground of all kinds of dangerous diseases, the world would have to come in and clear it up because it could not afford to allow disease to spread all over the world. The only safe principle to follow is that, subject to certain limitations, each country should be allowed to live its own life in its own way. There are at present several ideologies in the world, and major conflicts flow from these ideologies, which we will consider later. We join the Commonwealth obviously because we think it is beneficial to us and to certain causes in the world that we wish to advance. The other countries of the Commonwealth want us to remain there because they think it is beneficial to them. It is mutually understood that it is to the advantage of the nations in the Commonwealth and therefore they join. At the same time, it is made perfectly clear that each country is completely free to go its own way. It may be that they may sometimes go so far as to break away from the Commonwealth. In the world today, where there are so many disruptive forces at work, where we are often on the verge of war, I think it is not a safe thing to encourage the breaking up of any association that one has. Break up the evil part of it. Break up anything that may come in way of your growth, because nobody agrees to anything which comes in the way of a nation's growth. Otherwise, apart from breaking the evil parts of the association, it is better to keep going a cooperative association which may do good in this world than to break it. Now, this declaration that is placed before you is not a new move, and yet it is a complete reorientation of something that has existed in a entirely different way. Suppose we had been cut off from England completely, and we had then desired to join the Commonwealth of Nations. It would have been a new move. Suppose a new group of nations wanted us to join them, and we joined them in this way. That would have been a new move from which various consequences would have flowed. In the present instance, what is happening is that a certain association has been in existence for a considerable time past. A great change came in the way of that association about a year and 8 or 9 months ago, from August 15, 1947. Now another major change is contemplated. Gradually, the conception is changing, yet that certain link remains in a different form. Politically, we are completely independent. Economically, we are as independent as nations can be. Nobody can be 100% independent in the sense of absolute lack of interdependence. India has to depend on the rest of the world for her trade and for many supplies that she needs today for her food, unfortunately, and so many other things. The House knows that inevitably during the past century and more, all kinds of contracts have arisen between England and this country.